Hello and happy Halloween. Welcome to another edition of the Monday Minute. I'm Rita Ernst. I'm the author of Show Up Positive. I'm so glad that you are with me on this Monday. Welcome back to my regular haunt. I'm back in the office. For those of you that have been asking, my father is home. He is doing really well. So all news is good. I'm very happy to share on this Halloween something that is definitely a treat for me. And he got to come home on my birthday last week. So that made it an especially wonderful birthday for me. So if you're here with me live, feel free to comment in the chat. I will be glad to say hello and welcome you to another Monday together. And if you're catching this in replay, hit the hashtag replay. Let me know that you showed up. And let me know if you have any questions or comments about what we're going to talk about today. So it is Trick or Treat Day. It is something that I loved dearly as a kid. I still remember so clearly the year that I got the Casper the Friendly Ghost mask for my Halloween mask. And I was just so excited to be that cartoon character that year. It has stuck with me so strongly because I was so excited about that. So who's your favorite character that you were during costuming when you were a kid? Put it in the chat and let me know who else loves Halloween and what you love to dress up as. I don't do very much dressing up as an adult, although I'm always in awe of the cleverness of the people who do. So shout out to Julie and Mike Avery, who oh, thank you, Rayanne. Happy Trick or Treat Day. Who did Flo and whatever the love interest is now in the commercial. It just tells you how much I pay attention to commercials. It was priceless. I just saw this weekend on social media. So we're going to talk today about a very important show up positive spark, optimism. And if you've read the book, you'll know why optimism can be both a treat and a trick. If you know why optimism can be a trick, I would love for you to shout it out in the comments below what you remember from the book about the tricky part of optimism. Oh, Rayanne says she was the Cheshire Cat. Oh my gosh, that would have been elaborate. I would have loved to have seen that. I've got daughters that can do that really elaborate face painting stuff. That is not in my wheelhouse, but thank you, Rayanne. So optimism. I used to call myself an optimist. I still sort of do. I don't want optimism to be a bad word because I do think that it's important to have optimism in our life. But as with any show up positive spark, whenever you play any good thing to its extreme, when you overutilize it, when you hang on it too tightly, you can get the inverse impact, right? So it can become a negative thing. It can become your Achilles heel. And I want to share a personal story with you from my experience with my father last week that will really bring this home. So optimism, right? Optimism is the belief that things will turn out well, that all will be good, that, there is a positive path forward. So it's helpful to be optimistic because the opposite of optimism is despair or hopelessness. And I don't live well in that land. I try not to spend time in that land. Raise your hand out there if you are with me on that. So optimism is always been a value in my life that I've leaned into. But here's how it went down with the issue that we were dealing with my father's health last week. He's a very, very healthy man for his age. He is probably in the 98th, 99th percentile for somebody of his age in terms of the activity, the stamina, all of those things. He goes to the gym. He still does his own construction projects around his house. I mean, he's just not a man that seems limited in many ways. I think the most limiting thing I've seen is the last time he came to my house to do work with me, he didn't crawl around on the floor installing the luxury vinyl product. He had another friend who came along who was a few years younger, and we together did all that crawling around because that was a little hard on my dad to do that crawling around. So that's probably the most limited thing I've seen of him in decades. So it really came out of the blue that he was suddenly in the hospital with a very acute and serious illness. And in my mind, as we heard from his doctor about what they wanted to do to treat him, there was this treatment, sort of for the acute issue, that would sort of just make everything okay. And I thought, well, this is going to be what happens, right? They're going to take care of this, and this treatment's going to work, and then life is normal, easy peasy, just the way it used to be. And that's what I had in my head. And that wasn't what happened. In fact, they did the treatment, and it was effective for a very, very short amount of time. And then the problems that he had immediately started to recur, to which the doctor said, okay, well, then we're going to move to medication therapy, and we're going to put him on these pharmaceutical products, and this will take care of it. And he will just stay on these pharmaceutical products for the rest of his life, most likely. But we'll evaluate that in the in 6-12 months and see where he is. And I was so upset by this news. My heart was just broken, because being on that medication was going to be somewhat restrictive to my father's lifestyle in ways that I didn't want for him. And I had it in my head, he's a really healthy guy. He takes really good care of himself. He is slowed down hardly a beat, and he should be able to continue that life. I just was not ready. The optimist in me was not ready to let go of my vision of my dad as an unencumbered, healthy guy. And so I kept holding on to the result I wanted, which was for the first procedure to have worked and for him to not have to be on lifetime medication. And then a friend said to me in text, oh, that's wonderful news. And it really stopped me in my tracks, because she was showing up as an optimist. That's wonderful news. And she was right. It was wonderful news that my father was not going to continue to have this debilitating illness that was very much impeding his life, that all he was going to have to do was take these wonderful medications that had been developed, and he would be able to resume his life at probably 90% or more, or 80 to 90% actually, of what he would normally be doing. And that should have been a celebratory moment for me, but I was pouty and unhappy because it wasn't what I wanted. And it wasn't the vision of my dad that I was ready to let go of. So my optimism about my dad's health, my optimism about the procedure that I wanted to work, was getting in the way. And that, my friends, is the trick side of optimism. When we get too caught up, good morning, Deborah. I'm so glad you're here. When we get too caught up in having the world be the way we want it to be, that we are unwilling to honestly face and accept the reality. And we are just trying to force the puzzle pieces and the visual that we have to fit what we want it to be. That is when optimism is working against us. We're playing our optimism too heavy-handedly, and it's going to come back and bite us. In fact, I share the story in the book from Admiral Stockdale, which is also from the Nazi concentration camps. It's under the subtitle, Optimists Are the First to Die. And that is the trick, right? The optimists are the first to die because they are unwilling to reconcile with the truth and the hard reality of what they're facing. And they just keep looking for the light, reaching for the light, thinking the light's going to come in and save them. And the light doesn't show up and save them. There was no light that was going to show up and save my father from needing to be on these medications. But how joyful and wondrous that he could have his livelihood restored through medication. It was something I almost missed the opportunity to really appreciate and celebrate with him the way I could have and should have, because I wasn't wanting to face the reality of his diagnosis. And so this is where optimism gets tricky. So I want you to have optimism as one of your show up sparks, but I caution you to make sure that you are focusing your optimism within the constraints of your reality, right? So you can say, this is really difficult. This is really trying. This is really terrible. And yet I will persist and prevail through this. And I will get to the other side. That's being optimistic. Better outcomes are ahead is an optimism, but saying that I'm not going to be okay until those better outcomes are there is what causes the optimist to die. They die of a broken heart, according to Admiral Stockdale, because they're just waiting for the salvation when it doesn't come, and they set another deadline and it doesn't come, and another deadline and it doesn't come. They die of a broken heart, right? They die of hopelessness because their optimism isn't grounded in realness. So make sure this Halloween, as you look forward in this week and you think about what it is that you are trying to accomplish, that you have optimism, but you have that optimism grounded in reality. If the truth is, it is months of work to get there. Like, I want to publish the second book about in the Show Up Positive series that I have in my mind. I haven't started writing it yet. I sort of have a loose plan to do that. I'm still trying to get the audiobook out. You know, I had this goal to have the audiobook out last week. I didn't achieve that. Then I had a goal that I was going to get all the files loaded up and ready to go by this weekend, and engineering through that. There were just some things that I was like, I'm not going to rush this. I don't like how this sounds. I want to get this fixed. I want to have a better version of this before I release it. So, you know, the optimist in me is going to keep putting those goals out, those markers out there. But I'm tempering that. I'm going to publish and create and send you guys this book. But I'm going to be okay with the fact that I'm missing my goals or deadlines because I'm missing them for the right reasons. And I'm not going to let that create hopelessness. I'm just going to allow it to alter my plan. And I'm still optimistically working toward the release of that instead of giving up out of sheer hopelessness. So the audiobook is coming. The next book in the series is coming. And before all of that happens, hopefully I will get a chance to talk with you. So if you want to join me, I put it in the comments here. It's also in the details for this session. You can come join me on Zoom. And the meeting ID is 885-7529-4287. 885-7529-4287, and the passcode is positive. I'll be over there immediately after ending this broadcast. I hope to see you there. I went a little long today, but it's Halloween, so that's okay. You have heard today's edition of the Monday Minute. I really hope that you'll come back and join me next Monday, every Monday at 11:45 a.m. And if you can't be with me live, catch it in the replay. I look forward to hearing from you in the comments, or come join me over on Zoom, getting ready to start just as soon as we close out here. Have a wonderful, optimistic week.